Speaking of JB, yeah, the governor delivered the inaugural address for his second term. Anything stand out for each of you?
Well, I was hoping to hear. I had written a story before the inauguration about how sort of his second term agenda was not really super clear, and I still don't feel like he has a nearly as robust agenda going into the second term as he did in the first. One thing that was new was his call for an amendment to the state constitution that would further protect abortion rights in Illinois, already protected under state law, but enshrining it in the Constitution would make those even more ironclad.
Yeah. Did you watch, Alex, Brandon?
I saw recaps. I saw some clips. I think that maybe the most notable standout part of it to me was his promise for, I think, universal pre-K.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was interesting.
That was a pretty bold promise. I mean, I don't think that we've seen that rolled out statewide.
Free tuition.
Really anywhere. Yeah, free tuition for, kind of on a limited scale for people who qualify.
Yeah.
It seemed like he was carrying in this idea that because the state has had surpluses and been able to operate such an expansive kind of government and expansive safety net the last couple of years, that was something that the state is going to be able to continue or expand further. And we have to remember that the deadline for ARPA money spending is coming up in a couple of years, and also pensions kind of stopped performing as well as they did, and a lot of other state assets did in this past year. And so I think that the state government's fiscal salad days are probably coming to an end, and he's going to be faced with some tough choices again.
Yeah.
Interestingly, one thing he did not mention was a second stab at a constitutional amendment for a graduated income tax. Some folks were speculating as to whether maybe would he try again using some other kind of rules or language or better messaging, but no sign of that yet.
And he's pretty much ruled that out for now. I mean, as you say, if the economy starts to tank and these surpluses turn into big deficits again, he could change his tune on that.
Yeah.
But and the preschool thing, back to that just quickly, that's an idea that has been floating around in some way, shape, or form since Rod Blagojevich was governor,
years,
if
yeah.
not before. So I think the devil there is really in the details and what you mean by universal, and also how they're going to pay for it, which they have not provided any details on
We'll
yet.
have to stay tuned.
Absolutely. I think the big takeaway for me, it wasn't policy, it was his Fire Pritzker joke. He talked about how he sees all these Fire Pritzker signs, and his kids tell him, well, fire usually is a good thing, right? Fire emoji. So he took it as a good thing. So he's got that bravado and confidence of a guy that just won pretty big for his second term.
I mean, speaking of confidence, let's talk about that inaugural ball in Springfield.
Bruno Mars.
Who would have thought?
Bruno Mars
So
and
random.
JB Pritzker. I wasn't putting that together.
Did not see that coming.
Yeah.
I guess he got the money for him, that's for sure.
That's right. He could pretty much book anyone he wants.
Before we take a pause, I want to steer the conversation away from politics for a moment. Maybe you guys heard, but Chicago is number 1. Yay! But unfortunately, it's not exactly the honor we want. Why am I the only one cheering?
Right.
Because you know something's coming. Brandon,
Dun, dun, dun.
a report came out telling commuters what they already know.
This was a weird report to me, because I was like, I don't think I know it. They said that Chicago is the most congested city in North America,
I was
traffic-wise.
shocked.
I was a little shocked. If you've been to L.A., if you've been to New York,
Atlanta
Anywhere in
even?
Texas.
Atlanta, hello? That's the congestion capitals to me. They said Chicago's number 1. It's this site called INRIX. They said that it cost drivers an extra $300 in gas this year, that we racked up the most lost hours driving than any other North American city. The second was Boston. The third was New York. And they cited large increases from pre-pandemic and during the pandemic by like 7% in morning and afternoon commute traffic.
Yeah.
I'm a little skeptical of this report, but, if they say so. I'm also not a driver in the city. So,
Well, who also doesn't have to worry about this report? Alex. Because I remember you at least once biking into the recap.
Yeah,
There you go.
I bike when I can. In January, it can be a little harder. My car is currently sitting in the Navy Pier parking garage, and not excited about the traffic when I get out. But I was explicitly told by the Illinois Department of Transportation that rebuilding the Jane Byrne interchange was going to fix all our traffic problems.
And now it's open, so we'll see. Right?
Yeah, all you had to do is add more lanes, just like they did in having Texas and LA.
So
and then
many
the traffic
lanes.
just stopped.
That is Alex Nitkin of the Better Government Association, Brandon Pope with WCIU Channel 26, and Dan Petrella with the Chicago Tribune. They're going to stick around, and we hope that you do too, because there's more news to get to.